Good morning. Happy New Year. Oh my gosh. It is January 1st, 2024. How about that, everybody? It is a brand new year. I hope that you had an incredible New Year's Eve, that it was safe, that it was fun, joyful, and that you are looking forward to this new year and going for your dreams. This is the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast, episode 33? Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Oh, man. I unfortunately had probably the worst New Year's Eve experience of my life, as petty as it's going to sound when I tell you what happened. So I had a show last night in San Diego, which, man, I hate being this guy. I hate being critical. I hate being negative, but it was the worst, probably the worst stand-up show of my life. No joke. And I've had some shitty stand-up shows. This one was brutally bad. And really shocking. I went in there very excited for the gig. I got booked on this about a month ago, and I got booked because I did a gig on Thanksgiving Day. And I'm kind of hesitating how much of this I should talk about, which is kind of weird. I don't know why I'm worried about saying what the organization is that I did the show for. Well, it was NA, so Narcotics Anonymous. I guess I was thinking that I should keep the organization itself anonymous, but I think it's fine to just say that that's what the show was. So I did a show. It was like at a halfway house on Thanksgiving, and I volunteered to do it, and I had a great time. It was like in the backyard of this sort of halfway house, and the audience was very grateful. They just set up some chairs out back and had a little PA system. There was like 20, 25 people. There's a lot of other stuff going on, but there was a group of people who watched the show. I had so much fun with them. They were so supportive and grateful and attentive. And so because that show went so well, the organizer booked me for this New Year's gig for another NA group in San Diego. So I went in there assuming that it was going to be a similar experience, and it was the worst experience I've ever had as a stand-up. I'm trying to think if I've had some awkward shows before, bar shows, tough shows. This was a whole new level of brutal. It was a pretty big. It was at a kind of a large church. And quite a few people. I mean, it was definitely a bigger audience. It was definitely over 100 people there. Whereas the one I did on Thanksgiving was, smaller, more intimate. And, it's their New Year's Eve festivities. So the first thing is they had a meeting. They had an NA meeting, hi, my name is such and such, and I'm an addict. So they did that for about an hour and a half before, and then they cleared the room, and then there were a bunch of people who bought tickets for the entertainment that night. Nobody knew that there was a comedy show. So somehow that got missed in the advertisements and stuff, but almost nobody knew that there was going to be a comedian as part of the festivities that night. So already that was problematic. There's a lot of people who have come to have a good time, but they didn't know that having a good time was going to be comedy. There was a DJ. I know there was going to be dancing. They had dinner. So Anyway, people start piling in now for the festivities. So they left after the NA meeting because I guess the NA meeting and the festivities were separate. You had to buy tickets to be part of the New Year's Eve party that night. So people start filing in, and there's this big line to get dinner. And, it's a very frenetic, chaotic energy. There's not a lot of organization going on. There was somebody up at the front who would kind of try to give announcements to try to say like, hey, this is what's going on. Nobody was listening. Nobody was paying attention. And then, a lot of the people had gotten their dinner, and then they're sitting down, and then they bring me up, which anybody who's ever done a corporate show or anything like that, you never, ever want to do a comedy show during dinner while people are eating. It is almost impossible to for that scenario to go well, especially in a private event. Now, if it's, a comedy club, if it's the improv, the comedy clubs serve food, but they're usually serving more sort of like bar food, snacks and drinks and stuff like that. That's very different. And even that is somewhat distracting, but, but people have come to the comedy show. So there's already this whole group of NA members who have showed up to this thing, and then I come on stage, and there is zero focus. It's just chaos. There's just nonstop talking, and it's a big like church, kind of their main kind of worship room, and it's echoey and it's loud and it's chaotic, and nobody cares that I'm there. And I'm still thinking like, oh, I'm gonna come out and connect and get these people on my side. I had like a handful of jokes about just things I had observed in the room, which is exactly what I did. It's actually what I do at every show, and it always goes well. I'm able to sort of connect with the room and what's going on. And I come out, and the first thing I do is I say AA instead of NA. So I use Alcoholics Anonymous instead of Narcotics Anonymous. And they yell at me. They're like, it's NA, NA. And I'm going like, and I'm just trying to play like, did I say the wrong thing? Oh, I said the wrong, and first of all, I couldn't even actually really hear what they're saying because it's so loud. And now this whole group of people are yelling at me because I have said the wrong thing, which, fair enough. That was something, I didn't really think to pay that close attention to, the difference between the AA and the NA, but evidently that's me like, yeah, I don't know, doing a gig for Coca-Cola and me coming out and saying, hey, how's everybody at Pepsi tonight? That's kind of the visceral reaction that I had referred to the fact that I had just witnessed the AA meeting, but it was the NA meeting. And so it's already a bad situation. They're already not focused. They already don't want comedy. I could tell that. Nobody wanted me there. Almost nobody. And then right off the bat, I say the wrong effing anonymous group. And they yell at me in like a way that I'm kind of like, back off. I mean, it was pretty visceral, like, wow. And so I try to like smooth it over. Then I start kind of going into sort of my like riffing about what I had witnessed, and I had a couple of jokes, and those went okay, but it's so loud I can't hear anybody laughing, first of all. So I'm trying to look at the faces and be like, is anybody even paying attention, first of all? Is anybody even laughing? it was the closest I've ever come to in my entire comedy career of pulling the plug immediately and just being like, hey, you guys, you want to know what? I'm just really not feeling like, this isn't going to be a good experience for either of us. And, but I saw smiles and I saw people laughing, and, there was a couple times when I said some jokes where I actually heard, it's like I got enough people to actually pay attention to laugh that I could hear laughter. I'm like, okay, they're kind of here. But, I definitely did not feel safe I didn't feel like I could be vulnerable. I didn't feel safe expressing myself. So, it's like I instantly I'm not having fun. Instantly I'm in survival mode. I'm like, I am not in a safe environment here of audience members who are going to make this an enjoyable experience for me or for them. So I start going into my material that has been crushing everywhere, and I can't hear anything. I can't hear any laughs except, barely. I could barely hear some laughs sometimes. And again, I'm trying to look, and it would be like I could hear like there was one person over here who was like really laughing a lot, like really enjoyed my show and like nothing else. And so, of course, I kind of did those jokes. It's like, all right, I'm entertaining the room one person at a time, and brutal, and I'm looking out of the audience. People are just texting, getting up, walking, getting food. They're delivering cake. They're, on their phones, not paying attention, arms folded, scowls, like look of anger. Like people were literally just angry that I was even there. So I'm just soldiering forward as best as I can. I tried to do some crowd work, which was if I was going to try to get him on my side, talking to him was a bad idea. So I tried to talk to this woman in the front row who was actually texting. So I'd called her out for texting, and she kind of laughed at that. And then I tried to just kind of crowd work her up a little bit. And it just was not good. She wasn't giving me anything. She didn't want to play ball. She insulted me. She's like, well, you're a little funny, and, stuff like that. I tried to interact with her. I got some laughs out of that. She had like kind of a interesting name, and then was like, oh yeah. I was like, well, was that your real name or your nickname? She's like, oh, well, that was the name that they called my son before he died. Hilarious. So, I mean, I am just, it is just brutal, guys. It was brutal. Those of you watching my comedy know that what I like to do is interview somebody in the audience and then improvise a song about them. So I did. I tried to improvise a song about her, and that, I mean, it went okay. Like, it actually went okay. I got some laughs, and then I tried to go back into my material, and had this woman come in sort of in the middle and sit in the front row and heckled me, just said something really mean, just like, that's, you're okay, or something, like just out of the blue. It was like I wasn't even talking to her, and just yells out, you're okay, or something like that. And I just went, wait, what? And she's like, yeah, you're kind of funny, or something like that. I was like, well, that's really rude. She's like, well, I'm a rude person. Yeah. And it got to the point to where I was starting to want to like lose it and actually be combative. Kind of reminded me of that Bill Burr, that famous Bill Burr rant in Philadelphia. If any of you have not heard that, it is incredible. Where there was this audience who was just really rude, I guess, and so to other comedians on the show. So when he got on the show, he just went on stage and just attacked the audience verbally. And I don't have that in me, but, and I'm getting paid. And the woman who sort of booked me and, talked to me before the show, who was really great. She was really friendly, really high energy. She was really excited to have me. And then I'm starting to feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm failing here. I am failing this this gig, which hasn't happened to me in a really, really long time as a performer. It's like, kind of a professional, it's kind of what I do, and I'm failing, and, everything that I've usually do to get an audience to be on my side isn't working, and anything is making it worse. And now I'm kind of being mistreated. Like, people are being rude to me and disrespectful, and it's already chaotic. People already aren't paying attention, but now people are like yelling at me and saying mean-spirited things, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really think I need to be here anymore, And so I felt that immediately, but about 20-25 minutes in, they wanted me to do 45 minutes to an hour. And before, she's like, well, how long can you do? I'm like, I can do as long as you need. Yeah. Well, so anyway, I was just looking for the ripcord. I'm burning through material because I don't, I can't get any sort of energy or any flow or any connection. And so, I'm just throwing jokes into this cacophony of chaos and hatred and disdain. And there was just a few saving graces. There were just like a few people who were watching and who were laughing at everything that I was saying. And I could see that they were laughing, and I could see that they were appreciating me. So I kind of was like, well, I'm doing this for them. And I felt bad because I'm going like, I don't know how anybody could, it's like if you're trying to watch your TV show and somebody is playing guitar in the same room, it's just absolutely annoying. And I kind of felt that for the audience members who were trying to enjoy and appreciate the show. And, it's just getting worse and more chaotic and more loud. And then I asked the audience, I'm like, do you guys even really want me here? I can just end it. And people were like, no, keep going. I was like, all right. And I felt an obligation to, because I was getting paid. So I'm sort of stuck in this space between obligation and reality. It's like, yeah, you guys are paying me to be here, but nobody would care if I just left. But I also am getting paid, so I don't want to not do the job I was paid to do, although I was paid to be funny. And I was being funny. It's not my fault. So anyway, I finally am like, all right, guys, I think I'm kind of wrapping up here, maybe. And I looked at the woman who kind of booked me, and I was just like, is that enough? You guys want to get in your evening? And she kind of gave me the like, whatever. So I was like, cool, I'll just, kind of wrap up. So then in my brilliant mind, I was like, well, I'll wrap up with one of my big closing bits, which if any of you have seen my stuff, I do this montage of songs that have na-na in it. So I start my na-na bit, and it's going well initially. And then when I really start going into all of these songs that have na-na in it, and I'm in the middle of a bit, there's this table that literally starts yelling at me, shut up. And I'm going, like, I'm in the middle of this bit. I'm going, what the heck? And it was like they were yelling at me to stop. And that was it for me. I just went, all right, that's all for me. I had no grace at that moment. I had no chill. I had no, I'm going to try to salvage this and try to leave on a positive note. I once they were literally yelling at me because they were so annoyed at this na-na bit, which usually when I do it gets standing ovations, and I get the whole audience singing along with me to Hey Jude, and it's my big closer, and this crowd was yelling at me to shut up in the most visceral, like, mean, we don't like you, we don't like. It was so bad, guys. It was so bad. So I get off the stage, and I just want to effing run away. I'm like, I do not want to be here ever again. I do not want to talk to these people. And, but, I've got a bunch of stuff I need to pack up. I had my keyboard, and so I start packing up my stuff. And then I had probably 9-10 people come up to me while I'm in the back of the room, like packing up and stuff, who were so gracious and were like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry. So sorry that, the crowd was so rude, and, you are really great. You're really funny. We love what you're doing. We're so sorry, and had several conversations like that. People coming and like giving me hugs and giving me love, and like, we're so glad you're here. We're so sorry that was so bad. And the woman who hired me was very gracious, and we're like, yeah, she's like, really sorry that didn't go better. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I did my best. Like, I did everything I could to try to entertain this crowd in this circumstance, and it just was not in the cards for this to be a successful show for me or for this audience. And man, I'll tell you, it definitely made me feel a certain way. It definitely had a very high like fight or flight response, high cortisol levels. I just felt this like, energy, just this like nasty sort of like pit in my heart, for this show, and that I was there. I drove out on my New Year's Eve. It's like my New Year's Eve too, to entertain and to just be in a situation to where it just was not the right fit. I don't know if any comedian could have been successful in there. I would assume that there probably is a comedian who is maybe better suited, has the right energy or has the right whatever to be successful in that environment. But I would assume that's a very unique and far and few between comedians who could have, or maybe I'm just being totally delusional, and any comedian, not any, but maybe there's a lot of comedians. Anyway, whatever. Just kind of rambling now, but yeah, I left there. I packed my car and I just drove the F away and got halfway home. I'm now back in Yuma, and I'm like, I just want to get as far away from this gig as possible. And, so I didn't really have any sort of New Year celebration. I was driving when it hit midnight. Oh, man, I'll tell you, it's really, really, I'm really disappointed, because I really did have high hopes that this gig would go really well. I was really looking forward to this gig and this opportunity and that community, because I had such a great experience with that community. I mean, it really is a positive community, and they are, and they've had such tragedy in their lives, and and they're turning their lives around. And I watched their meeting. I watched their NA meeting before I went up, and was so touched by it, like emotionally moved by it, and by the individuals who are in this situation. And I really did feel a kinship with them, and I was just so shocked that I had the experience I had. Really shocked. And I don't know how much of that was me just saying the wrong thing right up front. Actually, was that actually a kill switch? Like, if I had just come out and said NA meeting instead of AA meeting, no, that wasn't it. That's just me trying to. I always have a tendency to do that. I'm so hesitant to ever place the blame anywhere else other than on myself. Probably my religious upbringing. It's like, if something isn't going right, it's my fault. And there's a lot of truth to that. There is a lot of truth to, me taking responsibility for everything that I can. And I'm taking responsibility for everything I possibly can. I came out, I said the wrong thing. I listened to them and corrected it, and, kind of made fun of myself for it right up front. And then I gave everything I had. I gave everything I had that I knew how to do. to try to entertain that crowd and to have it be a good experience for them and a good experience for me. And it just was not going to happen. And man, I think it's just part of it, just part of being a dreamer, part of going for big things. You know, it's having an opportunity to even be in a situation to where something could go this bad. You know, there's no playing it safe in if you got a dream. You know, we want to be safe. We want to play it safe as much as possible, but eventually you're going to be putting yourself in vulnerable situations that do make you vulnerable. And sometimes you are going to get attacked, and sometimes it's not going to go well. And sometimes it may even be your fault. You know, tonight might have been my fault. You know, I should have paid, you know, it's funny. I looked at the flyer and the flyer said Narcotics Anonymous on it, but I just was thinking NA and AA and NA are the same thing. And who knows if that's even it. You know what I mean? It was just something that happened right up front that I said that wrong thing, and they kind of let me know that I said the wrong thing. But I don't know, man. I mean, what would you rather? It's like, what else could I have done? Could have just stayed home tonight. I could not be pursuing my dreams. I could have not have taken this gig. I could have just said, well, you know, it's New Year's Eve. I don't want to do a gig. I don't want to perform. But you want to know what? Somebody give me a chance to perform and to travel out of state and to do a show. And I was thrilled to take the show and to have an opportunity to do a show for a community that I had connected with previously and that I thought I would be able to connect with again. And that's not how it went. So what I'm going to do, going to go do the next show, have it be better. Going to be in a casino in New Mexico on Thursday and a casino in Colorado on Saturday. And I've done a bunch of casino gigs this year, and they've all gone phenomenal. They've gone very well. And I'm looking forward to just kind of letting this one, just let it be a bad experience. So dreamers, I'll tell you, you know, my whole point in doing this is just bringing you along on my journey and letting you all know what's happening and the experiences that I'm having. And hopefully that will be relatable in a way that you go, oh, okay, well, I had a really bad experience too. What does that mean? It means one night didn't go well, and learn from it as best as you can and move forward and on to the next show. And I'm not going to quit, you know. Like, it's a bad show. I've also had some of the best shows I've ever had this month too. You know, I did those shows a couple weeks ago in Oregon. Best shows. Incredible shows. And this happened to be the worst. You know, I guess it's that whole, you got to take both sides of it. You got to take the yin and the yang. Not the yin and the yang. I think it's the yin and yang. Probably going to get a fact checked on that one. No, it's not. It's not yang, it's yin. Okay. Still a little bitter. I'm going to work that out. I'm going to get my meditation on. I'm going to disconnect. But I am thrilled for 2024. Thrilled to be connecting with you. So grateful to everybody who has started following me on this journey, watching these podcasts and listening and commenting. I would love to know what you're up to. Let me know what your dreams are, what your goals are for 2024. And let's go get them, no matter how many bad experiences or disappointing gigs or experiences you have on your journey. It's all part of it. You know, laugh it off and make a podcast about it, and then move on and on to the next thing. So I love you all so much. I hope you had an incredible New Year's Eve and that you have a remarkable 2024. I am so excited for all the dreams and goals and experiences we're going to have together, and happy and excited to be sharing my journey with you as a comedian out there and an actor trying to make his way in this highly saturated industry, and look forward to continuing to do so. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy 2024, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.